my exercise for the day. Hey, hey, everybody. How is everybody? Yes, gotta get the blood moving, people. Because I've been sitting. Woo, there's a filter on this thing. Hey, everybody. Yep, it's Maud Betty here for another exciting episode of Retro Roadmap Live from the Hacienda living room. Let's see if there's anything crazy in the background. Laundry. Nope, we're good. Oh, thank you, Dawn. It is so... I love to dance. I do. Jeff Cooper. I don't know if you heard the song. Mary Beth, nice to see you. Mary Ann. I was going all over the world. You need something to pep you up, something snappy, something peppy, you know, because the weather is cool, the world is kind of wacky, but yeah, so anyway, we are here today. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I was thinking about this. I think this is my, pardon me, I'm still a bit winded. I haven't been doing my cardio as much as I should, but I think this is like my 18th, maybe even 19th episode. I can't remember. I should probably have it like rings in a tree. I could probably check by like how long my hair is getting. Brian, nice to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, it's so good to get the blood moving, people. It makes such a difference. It really does. Like if you're all hunkered down like I was for most of the day, jazz hands, everybody. I think that should be our new way. Instead of shaking hands, just be like, hey, nice to meet you. Jazz hands. Don't have to touch. So in any case, yes. Episode whatever, 19, almost 20. Here it is May. It is May already. May 12th. And we're going to talk about Kentucky because for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, welcome. Smiles, everyone, smiles. That's why we're here for the next hour or so to talk about cool vintage places in the U.S. in one state per episode. We started in Maine. Actually, it's funny. I realize I have this this fake map over here. But we started in the east, we're moving to the west, but as Retro Road Husband kindly reminded me, we can do whatever state we want. So I have a question for everybody at the end of this episode about what state to do next. It's going to be a choice of two since Facebook will only allow me to do two. But today we're talking about Tennessee. And the cool thing is I found, I have these vintage travel decals that Craig Nye was, hey, I get these travel decals. They're on my desk maybe, I think. You could maybe get them for me. Oh my God, look who it is. It's Retro Road Husband. He's helping me out because I forgot my stuff. I did print out my notes large enough so I can see them doing the traffic and weather. Oh, you rock. Thank you. So anyhow, we're talking about Tennessee today, and some really cool vintage places that I have been to, so I can tell you some stories about those, and then also some that I had on my map that I got to research further, and then some that some people recommended to me. So I love the community spirit here. We're all in this together. We're all in the craziness of the real world, but for the next, I don't know, hour or so, we're going to be talking about vintage cool places to inspire us to go travel when we are able to do it safely, people, safely, not stupidly, because we all want to live to be able to travel a lot more in our lives. Am I right? Yeah, man. Yeah, you're right. So that's what I want to do. I don't know about you guys, I am just so jonesing to get back on the road, stay in some cool hotels. Yeah, and I found a couple of those, and we're going to talk about them. So let's just get right into it, shall we? Trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to mention at the top of the show. Nope, let's get into it. You know what? Enough of me yakking. So here we are. We've got the lovely state of Tennessee. We did Kentucky before. We've covered Virginia. So if you missed any of those episodes, they are archived here on the Retro Roadmap Facebook page. But today we're going to start up here. So when we were doing Virginia a few weeks ago, we stopped right here at Bristol. Bristol at the line, if you recall, one side of the street is in Tennessee and the other side is in Virginia. So what a crazy place to check out. But we're going to go here. We're going to start up in this where we're going to head to Knoxville, Chattanooga. There's a Choo-Choo there. Then we're going to go up to Nashville. Of course, we have to hit Nashville. But this state is so chock-a-block full of like really cool, interesting, really musical. There's a lot of music that goes on, and I won't even pretend to get into it. The only song that was coming to my mind was, this is how it went. The Tennessee Waltz by Patti Page, which I remember. Patti Page makes me think of Old Cape Cod, which is a song I love, which actually, not to be foreshadowing the Monday night show that we're going to do about Los Angeles, but I have a story about how Old Cape Cod reminds me of going to someplace in Los Angeles. But also, the lyrics to this, I'm going to digress for a hot minute. Bear with me. I haven't spoken a lot all day, so I'm a bit chatterboxy. And tomorrow, May 13th, I want to give a shout out to 4 people in my life. One of them is my sister and her husband are celebrating their 20th wedding anniversary tomorrow, which is so awesome. So 20 years ago, we were all getting ready for her wedding, which was so cool. And then a few years longer ago than that, 2 dear friends of mine that I've known since pretty much kindergarten, Jeannie and Winifred, they were both born on May 13th. So their birthdays are tomorrow. And I always think of Jeannie and her siblings because the theme song to Patti Page, Old Cape Cod, if you're fond of sand dunes and salty air, not salt-free air, but salty air. So in any case, that is a special long-distance dedication for Maud Betty. Send it out to people tomorrow. But Chattanooga, Nashville, and then of course we're going to end up in Memphis. Because we're going to we will mention, somebody lived here at one point, a couple of cool people. So, yes, Nashville Cats. I actually looked that one up. I was unfamiliar with that one, Michael G. So many songs. But let's get right to it, shall we? And if I had a little, thing I could turn and be like, what's that guy doing the really nice news with the guy from The Office? Can you tell I watch TV a lot? But he's doing such good stuff. And so are we. So we're going to be up here in Kingsport. So we're going to start up here, and I have a couple of restaurants to recommend to you that, frankly, were totally not on my radar until yesterday when I was doing some research. I was on roadsidearchitecture.com, which is Deborah Jane Seltzer's awesome resource. If you're ever traveling or you just want to see what cool old signs and vintage places are, she has a wealth of information there. So we're up here in this neck of the wind in Kingsport. There's a place called Lynn Garden Restaurant in Kingsport. It's been open since 1949. And the reason I was kind of interested in it was because it's got an interesting vintage sign out the front, and that's why Deborah Jane took a picture of it. Well, then I went one step further and I took a look inside, the pictures that people show inside, and the place is pretty much like your authentic old school place. They literally say they boast a mid-century diner lunch counter with classic Tennessee orange seats. I was unaware that there was a shade of orange called Tennessee orange, but according to them there are. Old school kind of classic comfort food, Southern food. We're getting into the Southern food things. So you're going to hear about Southern food, fried chicken, barbecue, things like that. At Lynn Garden, they're open for breakfast and lunch. Looks really cool, and they do dinners on Fridays. Only on Fridays. And remember too that any of these places that I'm mentioning, I am speaking of them being open, etc. But it's all with this giant COVID-shaped asterisk reminding us that this is in theory, because so many places are sadly but sensibly closed because we don't want anybody to get sick and die. So while we want businesses to be open so we can visit them, we also want as many people in the world to survive this crazy epidemic. So I will be mentioning the fact that they have dinner and they serve lunch and they are open X, but that's all like when things are safe enough to do so, okay? Just wanted to remind you of that. So let's say you don't want to sit down up here and you don't want to have some kind of like your standard comfort food. Maybe you're on the road, you just want something, a drive-through, something like really quick fast food, as it were. How about sudden service? So there's a cute little chain in the northeast section of Kentucky. Excuse me, not Kentucky. This is when I should just be like, take two, of Tennessee, and it's called Pat's Sudden Service. The first Pat's location opened up in Kingsport, 1956, as a walk-up stand, and it's an adorable looking building. It is got a big red and white neon sign. It's got red and white striped tile out exterior, and you can go there. They're famous for their hamburgers. And then the other crazy thing is that they've got about 18 locations in that neck of the woods of this small like regional chain, and each one of them is kind of crazy looking. One has a giant hamburger man in the front. We've talked about muffler men in the previous episodes, so they've got one that actually has a burger. They have another one that's this kind of crazy 1980s thing where it's a stepped roof, looks like kind of a funky bunker. I think I just made that up. And it's got like a giant hot dog, giant food on it. But I love the look of the one, and it's especially since it's the first one from 1956, Pat's Sudden Service. The other interesting thing I thought about is they don't call them French fries, they call them Frenchy fries. I don't know why they call them Frenchy fries, but they call them Frenchy fries. Go there. Here is a mystery place. So if anybody wants to do some additional digging, I too will be following this up. There is a place in Rogersville, Tennessee, in this general area, that is called, they refer to it as Memory Lane. And what it is there's a gentleman by the name of Otis Eldridge who sells automobiles, but in the back part of his property, it's private, don't go trespassing. If we're going to do research, it will just be online. And it's called Memory Lane. It is a collection of actual real-life size buildings. They have a diner, a Texaco station, a body shop, a Lustron house, a bowling alley, and all of these places. Now, they used to do car meetups there and cruise-ins and things, and they haven't done it in a few years, so I need to do some more research about this. But this is like my dream, and the fact that I often talk about when I make all the monies, I want to have like real life-size Monopoly. Like I want to save the buildings, much like these people have done. So that is Memory Lane at Eldridge Auto in Rogersville, Tennessee. When I find out more info about that, I will definitely let you know, but it looks like kind of gets the spidey senses a tingling. Another one that gets more of my, if I had like my mid-century modern hat I was going to put on, because I also have a website or a Facebook page called Mid-Mod Map, which is things that are a little bit more designy, houses you can visit. This is not a house you can visit, but in Knoxville, Tennessee, there's an actual place called the Mid-Mod Collective. And what it is a bunch of people who sell mid-century modern furnishings and furniture. Like if that's the kind of vibe you're into, which I definitely am a lover of. There is a great place that they turned this old building and that was a warehouse into kind of a collective where they have a bunch of people selling mid-century modern furniture and accessories and things like that in Knoxville. I thought that was pretty cool because I love when I'm on vacation to go into places that don't just sell the new stuff, but sell the old stuff. And I thought you might like that too. So Mid-Mod Collective in Knoxville, Tennessee. And here's my sneaking sense too. When there are people who are interested in mid-century things, and enough to kind of put stake a claim in there, there are probably other interesting things in that area to go search out. So that's Knoxville. And yes, Knoxville Girl. I do remember that song. You know, it's funny. I think Evan Dando, the Lemonheads, I think did a version of that. That's the one I'm most familiar with. That will date me. So we're doing a bit of a jog here. We were in Knoxville right here, and then we're going to go jogging up here. We'll drive, but jog, get it a little out of the way, because I need to send you to Clinton, Tennessee. And here's a cool place that I think is just so freaking adorable. They have this like 2-for-1 in Clinton, Tennessee. Hoskins Drugstore and the Ritz Theater. And you can't miss them because they are both literally connected by a wall. Hoskins Drug has been open for 90 years. Of course, they are closed now safely, but they are not only a drugstore, but they have a lunch counter. And you know how Maud Betty loves the lunch counters. So they have a lunch counter. They also have booth seating, and it is a place where the people from the community gather, and you get your sandwich, you get your grilled cheese, or, you know, some delicious hot fudge sundaes and things like that. They are also a place that you can pick up your pharmaceuticals. And I mean that in like the, you know, Excedrin and that type of thing. You can go get your prescriptions refilled. So that is Hoskins Drug in Clinton, Tennessee. And then literally right next to it is the theater, the Ritz Theater. They have this wonderful, the whole building. Again, I'm going to have to figure out how to get some pictures up here. I want to try to do a thing where I can have like my iPad or something, but then I know I'm going to get even more distracted than I am. So picture this in your mind and then go look at it on the internet, okay? So in any case, the building, the Ritz Theater in Clinton, Tennessee was opened in 1945. This beautiful art moderne type of look, you know, kind of Art Deco-y, but with some blonde brick, really gorgeous, right next to that. So to me, you're on the road, this is what I would do, is I would find a place to stay in that area. I would make that my destination. I'd go have something to eat, check into my hotel, and then I'd go to the movies that night and support these local downtown-y places in Clinton. But if you don't want to do that, we can go down here. So we're going to head to this neck of the woods, and there's a couple of things en route to Chattanooga. So I think most people will be familiar with Dollywood. That is the theme park inspired by Dolly Parton's memories of growing up in the Great Smoky Mountains. Have not been there. I know I have some Dolly friends who absolutely love it. So I recommend it because I think Dolly Parton has got a huge heart and she's done a lot of really good stuff. And so even though it is a really big theme park, I would think you check it out. If that's too big for you and you still like the wicked small things, how about things like this big? How about like one here, and one has salt and one has pepper? Yo, boop, boo, doo, boo. No, that not that salt and pepper. Salt and pepper, like, you know, on your range stove or your table. The world's only salt and pepper shaker museum is in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And I started a salt and pepper shaker collection, and oh my God, that's a slippery slope, my people. I only have a few left. I have a few tiki-inspired ones that are in our tiki room. So I've pared them down, but if you want to kind of get that exciting, visceral feeling that you get when you see like items massed together, as one does, or maybe that's just me, the world's only salt and pepper shaker museum is in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Gatlinburg is the Great Smoky Mountains, the gateway to the Great Smoky Mountains. So that area has a lot of stuff that's kind of like, I don't want to say ticky-tacky because I haven't been there, but that type of vacation destination things. Like, for example, they have a place, even though we're near Dollywood, but not Hollywood. We'll talk about Hollywood next week, but Dollywood. But they have the Hollywood Stars Cars Museum in Gatlinburg, which also has over 40 of your favorite vehicles from movie, television, and entertainment icons. So if you like to look at old school cars that have a bit of a entertainment history, like, oh my God, it's the, and I don't want to say they have one and they don't have it, but it's the car from the show. That would be a place you go, and I bet there's some more kitschy places around there that you can find. So that's Gatlinburg. So we've got Salt and Pepper Shaker Museum. Thing I think is wicked cute about them too, check this out. They charge you money to get into the museum, right? $3, right? And then the $3 actually goes towards you buying something in their gift shop. So I just think that's so adorable. So Salt and Pepper Shaker Museum, Dollywood, Hollywood Stars and Cars Museum, right? Now we're in Chattanooga. Cue the music. Pardon me, boys, that's Chattanooga, choo-choo. I will confess, I sang this song wrong as a child, and actually I wasn't even a child at this point, but there's a phrase in here that I was mocked mercilessly by my family because I thought for some reason like they had shuffleboard and bowling on a train car. I thought, and here's the deal. Train cars, like Chattanooga Choo-Choo, train cars are long and narrow. Shuffleboard, it's a long and narrow sport. Bowling is also a long and narrow sport. It made sense to me, but it was actually shovel all the coal in. You live, you learn, you crash, you burn. I think that's how that song goes. See, I don't even know that one either. Anyhow, so Chattanooga actually has a number of things in there, and that's when some of these, I'm getting close to it. Craig Knight, thank you for reminding me of some of these fun places to show. But the first place I want to talk about is actually the Chattanooga Choo-Choo Hotel, because it's an independently owned hotel built in 1908 as the historic downtown terminal station for the Southern Railway line. Yeah, see, it's one of those ones, Michael G, that it has you can sing all sorts of lyrics to it. But so I love it when you can stay in old interesting buildings. That's what I want to do once we're free here. I love my old interesting building that I live in, but I want to go stay in like old interesting, hotels and stuff. That's my thing. So now you can stay in the terminal station for the Southern Railway line, the Chattanooga Choo-Choo Hotel. And the neat thing is not only do they have like modern hotel rooms there, but they also have a couple of Victorian sleeper cars that you can actually stay in as well. So, I mean, why bother staying in a very beige, boring place when you have the opportunity to stay there? When you're in Chattanooga, you might also want to partake of a show at the Tivoli Theater. Opened in 1921. It's home to the Chattanooga Symphony and Opera, and they do concerts, dance, and Broadway shows there. Broadway shows, jazz hands. So that would be fun. And there's also another auditorium in town called the Soldiers and Sailors Auditorium that they do some stuff with. So there's stuff to do. I think I've so far been pretty light on the places to eat. We'll totally make up for that once we hit Nashville. But I will also mention two places in Chattanooga that look of interest, to retro road mappers. So one of them is called Nikki's Drive-In. This place looks adorable. It's got these great Coca-Cola signs outside. It's been open since 1942 and famous for their fried shrimp and onion rings. However, I want to hep you to this because this is one of those things that you're going to find when you love the old places is not everybody does. So Nikki's Drive-In has been on my list of places to check out for years if I was ever in Chattanooga. And in researching it for this episode, I was so bummed to see this article from the October newspaper in that area, October 2019, that they just changed the zoning in that area so that they can knock down this classic old building that people love and put in a 4-story condominium unit. Not too thrilled with that idea myself. I'm not a fan of that type of thing, but it happens. And it's so soul-crushing when these things happen, when you love something that somebody else doesn't love, and also you're taking away history and memories. Like that to me is just bad vibes. But I tell you this to remind you all and to ourselves that when we are able to support when we're able to go out and visit places that we love, go visit the places we love. But even now, can you buy something from a downtown place that's near you? Anything you can do to help, what I like to say, spend your money where your heart is, not your heartburn, but your heart. That's what you should do. So if and when I go to, when I go to Chattanooga, if Nikki's Drive-In is open, I am going to go there. I'm going to buy the shrimp and the fried onion rings and probably have a Tums chaser, but I will savor every minute. And I will tip heavy. That's another thing. Tip heavy. It brings you good luck. If they are sadly not there, there's also a place just down the street from them called the Longhorn. It's not that Longhorn Steakhouse. It's called the Longhorn. It's almost like a diner type place with this great, crazy mid-century roof line, counter service. Love the counter service. Open since 1959. Open up early for breakfast and known for their country fried steak. So if you want to get anything fried, you go to the South. So they fry their steaks, deep fry the steaks. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of these places that I want to thank Craig Nye for reminding me to recommend, especially because I've got these really neat vintage travel decals from them. So you'll see this says East Tennessee, Lost Sea, near US 411 and US 11. Remember I was talking about US Route 11 when I was talking about Virginia? So how cool is that, that 11 goes through them too? Maybe instead of doing Route 66, we can make Route 11 a thing. So there's the Lost Sea. I've got a few of these. They came in the collection that I saved from the junk shop. What does this say? The world's largest underground lake. And it's true. The Lost Sea. So I've got that one. Did I collect them all? I got that one. Lost Sea, and it's got a waterfall. And I've got this one too. And so you can go into boats. So how cool is this? So the Lost Sea is America's largest underground lake and a registered national landmark. So you can go there and, you know, at least back when they made the sticker, you could go take a boat ride in there. Maybe you still can do that. They also have a general store, ice cream parlor, gem mine, glassblower, cafe, barbecue, and picnic facilities. So it's one of those places that if you were lucky enough as a child to be taken on a vacation, this sounds to me like one of those family truckster destinations. You know, I talk about when we were kids being in the back of the station wagon, but we didn't go many places, just we kind of looked out the window and longingly wished we could. So this to me would be one of those kind of places. So that's the Lost Sea in Chattanooga. Just very close to there are two other places, and actually a 2.5, because one's technically not in Tennessee, but I'm going to share it anyway because you can get a group discount on the tickets if you buy them. So there's a place called Ruby Falls and the Incline Railway. Doesn't that sound like a band? Everybody, thank you. Welcome to the stage, Ruby Falls and the Incline Railway. Take it away, Ruby. Anyhow. Jazz hands, people, jazz hands. The Incline Railway goes up Lookout Mountain, right? Can I do this and pretend to be looking here? I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, you totally know I'm reading this stuff, but it's because it's just so exciting, I got to share it. Incline Railway goes up Lookout Mountain, the world's steepest passenger railway. It has been in operation since 1895 and is a National Historic Site. So they also have these kind of, these incline, it reminds me of maybe like the Cog Railway in New Hampshire, but also Pittsburgh has the Duquesne Incline, kind of chuck, get you up to the inclines back in the day. So that would be fun to ride. And then also they've got Ruby Falls. So Ruby Falls is the nation's tallest and deepest underground waterfall open to the public. They were accidentally discovered in 1928 within Lookout Mountain. I mean, this to me is like, you know, I'm sensing a trip, a Retro Road Mapper trip to Chattanooga to do all these fun things. And even though it's over the state lines, it's only 6 miles, so I will send you there, is Rock City. And again, like, everybody playing at Rock City. It's Ruby Falls and the Incline Railway. It's not that kind of rock and roll. Rock City is on Lookout Mountain. It's funny, this says atop Lookout Mountain in Tennessee, but nowadays when you look it up, they say it's in Georgia. 6 of one, half a dozen the other. But Rock City, if you've ever driven, you know, along some of those back roads and windy things, there used to be these people that would go across the country and say, hey, I'll paint your barn, but I'm going to paint it and it's going to say See Rock City on it. So you got the paint for free. Somebody else did the work. You just had to put up with the fact that your barn had been turned into a billboard. And those Rock City billboards, and I think somebody makes, what are they? Birdhouse in Your Soul? Birdhouses that look like that too. Those are just some fun things to also look for when you're on the road. But go to Rock City. I think you can actually see, it says swing along the bridge, but you're technically supposed to be able to see 7 states from there. And maybe now that, you know, nobody's really driving a lot and the air is clear, maybe you can actually do that. So that's all down there in the Chattanooga portion of the state of Tennessee. As I mentioned, cool vintage places from Tennessee we're going to. Now we're heading up to Nashville. But before we do that, I know there's one place that's right around this area that people would be interested in, which would be the Jack Daniel's Distillery. So Jack Daniel's is actually the officially established in 1866, the very first registered distillery within the United States. Registered. I'm sure other people were distilling things, but yeah, that is a place that it's a little bit of history. It's a little bit of, you know, commercial culture. You can go, you can take a tour of the distillery. You can have a sip of, you know, Tennessee whiskey, smooth, charcoal filtered, all that. But, you know, when in Rome or when in Tennessee, why not do that? So that is going to be en route up here to Nashville. Now, Nashville, we could probably spend quite a bit of time talking about Nashville. I'm going to give you some of my highlights, but I'm going to give you a sneaky like shortcut, like, you know, like the little when you're playing a board game and there's like the little dotted line to be like, psst, go here, and maybe you'll end up in the conservatory, you know, with a wrench or something. Oh, sorry, Kentucky bourbon, that's right. I stand corrected. There's a little bit of the, you know, the spirits going on. Thank you, Marianne. I think there's room for all. So I'm going to talk about Nashville, and here's the clue I'm going to give you, and I'm going to post a link to this in the comments once I stop this and I come back and read the comments, is a dear friend of ours, wonderful musician, great songwriter, Bill DeMaine. Not only is he a wonderful songwriter and musician and all that, and really creative all the ways, he has a company called Walkin' Nashville, Walkin' Nashville, and he does walking tours of Nashville. And the cool thing is that he covers the places that we love. Like, he was doing a tour when we were in Nashville the last time, and we crossed paths like a couple of times. And so he does great tours. So if you really want to get a lot of the history and go to some of these really cool places I'm mentioning, and also some other ones, you know, like the Ryman Auditorium, Country Music Hall of Fame, Hatch Show Prince, all of those. He can take you on those tours, again, when it's safe. And he's such a dear friend, and I love the fact that he kind of has that retro road mappy heart like I do, and how we all love the cool vintage places. So that's Walkin' Nashville. He will be a great tour guide. But if you want to do it on your own, here are some places that Maud Betty recommends. So one of the places in downtown. Now, downtown Nashville, we've been there a handful of times, and every time we go to Nashville, it is getting harder and harder to find the authentic vintage places. Broadway is quickly kind of turning over into something new, and granted, I love the fact that I've got all sorts of neon signs and things, but those kind of old school places that feel like old school, yes, Craig and I, you're so right. Ernest Tubb Record Shop, that is one of my favorites, and that's pretty much the only place that I mention in today's thing that's on Broadway. Ernest Tubb Record Shop, great place to go get records. It's been around since where did we put it? I can't remember. Probably 1940s, because he was famous with the Grand Ole Opry. And the thing I love is I have a bumper sticker that I love to get and share with people, because it says, like, be better to your neighbors and you'll have better neighbors. I may be paraphrasing it, but I love that theme about, you know, be good to people and they may be good to you. It's not rocket science, people, but if Ernest Tubb says it, it's good. So anyhow, one of the places that I has to send you in Nashville is the Hermitage Hotel. Now, as I mentioned, Maud Betty has a fondness for these historic hotels. I don't always stay in them. However, I do love them. And this is one that would be fabulous to stay in. So American, you know, Historic Hotels of America. Hi, how are you? In any case, glorious looking place to just absorb that kind of historic Beaux-Arts architecture. It was opened in 1910, and I'm going to send you, ladies, you go too. I'm going to send you to the men's room. So the men's room is pretty historic itself. It's this crazy Art Deco black, like vitrolite and mint green fixtures. And it's just, it has to be seen to be believed. You won't be looked at strangely if you go in there asking for where the men's room is. If you go to a men's room and it looks like a men's room, you're in the wrong men's room, and that might be kind of weird. But when you get into the one that's downstairs in the lower level, it's absolutely classic. So go there, stay there if you're able to, because I'm sure that would be just a delightful experience. But then also check out the men's room at the Hermitage Hotel. Take your picture, Instagram it, I don't know, hashtag, do all that type of thing. Another place that's just within walking distance, and this is a great thing, you can walk to many of these places in Nashville, is the Arcade. Now, it's not one of these ones with pinball, much like when we were talking about, was it since Cleveland, Ohio, when we talked about Cleveland had a shopping arcade? This was also an old-fashioned covered shopping street, opened in 1902 in Nashville. And while there are still some small mom and pop shops there, I think there's actually a place to a post office that you can buy stamps and send postcards, which would be kind of old school. But there's also a peanut shop in there that used to be a Planters peanut place. But that's a fun place to go to and buy some peanuts, get some candy, and just check out that old architecture that was in vogue, over 100 years ago now. That's crazy, over 100 years ago. So that's the Arcade in Nashville. And now we're going to get into the food portion of the show. So I'm very proud of myself. I have a few other places that aren't food related, but I'm very proud because usually I am hitting the ground running with eat this, eat this, eat this, eat this. And maybe it's because I was wisely having lunch beforehand that we are only going to share some of these really great places to eat in Tennessee, but primarily in Nashville right now. So there's a couple things you need to know about. One is, I'm sure you've heard of hot fried chicken. There's a few places in Nashville to go to, but there's one favorite place I want to save till we go to Memphis. So now I'm going to talk to you about Meat and Three. So maybe they're like the opening band to Ruby Falls and the Lost whatever's playing at Rock City. But Meat and Three is a concept of, you go to some of these old-timey restaurants, southern restaurants, and you get your tray and you can choose a meat and then like 3 sides, 3 vegetables. And I use the term vegetables. I use that term loosely because they are technically vegetables, but in the South, if it doesn't have bacon fat or delicious grease or some really good stuff in it, it really isn't a southern vegetable. I hope any southern people who hear me say that know that I'm speaking from my artery-clogged heart when I say how much I love that, and it's not to disparage the way the vegetables are created. Frankly, I'm from an Irish house, so what's that phrase? I believe it was, when it's brown, it's cooking, when it's black, it's done. And once you boil the vegetables until they're gray is when you know they're done in our house. So the house I grew up in. No, oh my God, now my mother's going to think I don't like her cooking. She's probably not watching anyway, so it's okay. In any case, Meat and Three in the South. 3 places to send you. You can do your own research here, but Wendell Smith's Restaurant is a sit-down place that you can go. 1953 opened, cool neon sign, family-owned, 3rd generation. Arnold's Country Kitchen is the place that we actually had this first experience, and they're a James Beard Award winner. Delicious food there. The only thing I was kind of bummed to see was that since we had been there the first time, they have renovated, and it's not as kind of just authentically, organically old school as it were. I'm sure the food is awesome. So Arnold's, there also tends to be a line at Arnold's because they're so well known. But just keep that in mind. And then also, I'm gonna hey everybody, it's the time in the show where Maud Betty actually mangles a word because she only reads it. She hasn't pronounced it out loud. Dandgers, classic Southern cooking. D-A-N-D-G-U-E-R-E''S. It's cafeteria style. They're really good. It's only been around since 1991, but for whatever reason, I'm thinking it might have been an older business there. Totally old school feel. So there's 3 places where you can get your Meat and Three. If you want to go to a really old school place that I was so relieved was still there, I'd send you to Rodeer's because that is kind of a bar and restaurant, been open since 1945, still family owned and operated. And that, my friend, is hanging on to its authentic history as things just change all around it. They're famous for their cheeseburger on French bread. I remember for whatever reason getting a piece of key lime pie and it was delicious. So that was really good. You can get beer there, but that's Rodeer's. It's got a neon sign. It's got I think it's formstone, those kind of fake brick things in the front that people who grew up in Baltimore would know what I'm talking about. But they are hanging on. They are not letting go of their history, and I love that about them because sadly, here's a weird thing. So pretty much right next door to Rodier's is the Elliston Place Soda Shop. Now that place was opened, I want to say in like the 1920s. And here's an interesting thing. Temporarily closed now because of COVID, but also because they are renovating it. But what they're really doing is they're moving it completely into a completely different building next door or a few storefronts down. And so to me, it really begs the question, how is a place authentic when they're saying, oh, we're keeping it the same? It's like you can't keep it the same if it's not there. I digress. But just, yeah. So keep in mind that when you go to Nashville and you see Elliston Place Soda Shop, just know that it is not the way it used to be. It's still, it's kind of like it's a place inspired by it. Okay. Keeping an eye on the time and wanting to still eat a lot in Nashville, I'm going to send you to, now here's a place that's really kind of the dive bar-iest place I will send you in Nashville is Brown's Diner. Now Brown's Diner is, as far as I can tell, an authentic trolley car that used to be mule drawn, and then they converted it into a restaurant. So it isn't one of those authentic pre-built diners like we have in the East Coast. They say that not a long-time Nashville resident, and he sadly passed recently, John Prine, used to like to hang out there. Very old school place, kind of, I will admit, kind of a bit dingy, but they're supposed to be really, really well known for their cheeseburgers. You can get beer there, and sometimes bands play there. But with so many shiny new places coming in to Nashville, if you really want to get, literally, you could probably touch some old school dirt in there. Don't get mad at me if I say that, Browns, I'm sorry. So that's an old school place, 1927. Brown's Diner. Also, the oldest restaurant in Tennessee, and again, it's changed locations a time or two, but it's Varallo's. Opened in 1907 and is known for their three-way chili. So, didn't we learn about chili? Isn't this great how different things from different places come back in? So we learned about chili, like a three-way or a five-way, when we were up in Ohio. And this is a three-way, and theirs is beans, spaghetti, and tamales. Again, one of the fun things about going traveling is eating all sorts of interesting things. Other couple of quick things I want to mention. Actually, a cool place to stay also, Union Station Hotel. Used to be the old Union Station train station, and it's now a historic hotel. Right next to that is the Frist Center for the Visual Arts. Really cool art museum. And the neat thing about it is that it's in the historic post office building. So the post office, you can still go to that post office and buy stamps like underneath in like the regular place, but they actually made this glorious, old school building into a visual arts center, which is really neat. Speaking of also old school kind of classic architecture with your columns and everything, there is a recreation of the Parthenon in Nashville that was built in 1897. It is a full-scale replica of the Parthenon over in Greece in Nashville. So that's kind of an unusual thing if you want to take a selfie, I don't know, dress in a toga maybe. So those are a couple of places that don't even, check me out. I'm practically losing weight. I'm not talking about food right here. But we're going to get to that because Marianne, I see that you're mentioning a place that I'm going to show people, because while it technically is considered Nashville, now we're trucking our way basically from Nashville to Memphis, okay? And along the way, just a little bit south of outdoor Nashville, and trust me, there's more things to do in Nashville proper, but I want to make sure that we're covering the whole state. The whole state there, my friends. Is the Loveless Cafe. And there's a lot of love for the Loveless Cafe. Loveless was the last name of the people who opened it in 1951. They are famous for their biscuits. They actually started this as a restaurant in their house and then built like a 14-room motel around it. And it has now become such a destination that it has turned a bit into a really cute little compound, let's say, because you can still go there and eat. They've expanded the eating area off of the original house, and absolutely delicious pies, biscuits. We had some great, I think we had breakfast there with Susan Holly Nichols. Yeah. And delicious stuff. And then what used to be the motel rooms are all little gift shops. And because the restaurant itself is so small, you can while away some time looking at the things that they have in the little gifty areas, or just, spend time swinging, on a little porch swing. I remember we ran into some people from I think they were from Germany, and they were here for that classic American experience. So that's the Loveless Cafe. It does have a really cool neon sign that you should get a picture of. Again, get a selfie, tag it, show people that it's great that they keep these neon signs. And now we're going to go trucking our way on down to Memphis, okay? Now, there are a few things that, to me, kind of fall in this neck of the woods, which are kind of like, there's a threefer right here of, what do I want to call it? Like Tennessee music history places. I got to come up with something better than that, but bear with me, okay? So in Bon Aqua, Tennessee, we've got the Johnny Cash Storyteller's Hideaway Farm and Museum. So Johnny Cash owned this place from 1970 until he is no longer with us. And the famous thing about this is that they've got the One Piece at a Time Cadillac there, if you ever know that song. That song is pretty much like one of those retro roadmaps / just drive your life mantras of doing, you know what I mean? You can do anything if you just take one step at a time, or if you take one piece at a time, you might be able to build a Cadillac in your own house. Listen to the song, it's kind of funny, but that's in Bon Aqua. Then there's Loretta Lynn's Kitchen. Now, I don't believe it's her authentic kitchen, but it's a buffet restaurant opened by Loretta Lynn, and it looks kind of interesting to me. There's, this is the type of place where I'm driving down the road. If I want to eat and I've got a choice of some national chain or something called Loretta Lynn's Restaurant, I will go to Loretta Lynn's Restaurant. So that is in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. And then in Brownsville, Tennessee, and again, this is all of us going from Nashville to Memphis. West Tennessee Delta, gotta turn the page. West Tennessee Delta Heritage Center is the Tina Turner Museum. So that's where Tina Turner grew up, learned all those moves. She was so great. She is so great. But that's the little museum about her life in her neck of Tennessee. I already forgot it. Brownsville, is it? Brownsville, Tennessee. Pardon me. All right. One more place that I happened to notice while I was looking for something else, which is so much fun. Hello from Germany. Thank you. Is the Louise Theater, or the Louise Theater, it might even be pronounced, in Bolivar, Tennessee. Now, the crazy thing is, and this is what is so fun about researching places you want to go to, and then just, kind of keeping your eyes open, is I didn't even have this place on my map. I know I haven't mentioned a lot of theaters on this episode. There are a few of them kind of sprinkled into different places, but I was trying to keep us on a specific little path. I'm working on my Tina Turner moves there, Jeff Cooper. I promise, next time you see me in real life, we'll get some of those going. But anyhow, I was hipped to this area, Bolivar, I'm probably mispronouncing it, Tennessee, because of a sign that Deborah Jane Seltzer took a picture of. And when I clicked on the Google Map Street View, the camera was facing in the wrong way. And what did I see just down the street but this cute little movie house? It's been open since 1948. It's got original neon marquee, and it's absolutely adorable. So I just love the fact that I had no idea it was there, and it's just kind of tucked into this little town on the way to Memphis. So, all right. Cue the, what's his name? Garth Simon, cue the Paul Simon. We're going to Graceland in Memphis, Tennessee. We're going to Graceland. Graceland is in Memphis, Tennessee. Susan Holly Nichols, hey! Were your ears burning? I was talking about when we met up at the Loveless Cafe. So yes, Graceland is in Memphis, and you'll kind of kick yourself if you don't go there. So check it out. The neat thing about Graceland is you can do a variety of tours and things like that. There's all sorts of levels of tickets and things like that. But here's the takeaway that I had. Well, two of them actually. One is that how times have changed, and that Graceland was back in the day this decadent place where like he's so rich and famous. He has this place called Graceland, and his house basically looks like a nice version. Elvis's Graceland looks like a nice version of somebody's suburban house. It's not one of these crazy castle-like monstrosities that people have nowadays. So it really is charming to see the inside of it, and also just the fact that it's still decorated the way it was. And so that's a kind of a fun thing to go to. The other thing that I love to find out that was that, and how random is this, that they like, you know, that those magazines where they're like famous people, they're just like us, right? So when we were going through one of the places that was showing all of the, you know, the archives of the Presley family, I found out that the same goofy toy box that I had, toy box that I had as a kid, Lisa Marie Presley also, we had the same toy box, you know, little plastic one with little circus animals on it. So that was kind of fun. So you never know. You never know when you have a connection. So if I run into her, I'll be like, hey, remember that toy box? Like this, okay? So anyhow, there's Graceland, okay? But there's so much more in Memphis. So here's the funny thing, really quick. So when we went to Memphis, as I said, we're going this way, but when we went to Memphis, we actually were going from the south. We were in Austin, Texas, and we hightailed it to Memphis. It's a long drive. I will give you that. It was like 10-hour plus drive. But there was so much, and we thought, well, we would just like hit something. We ended up spending so much more time in Memphis than we thought because we totally underestimated all the awesome stuff we would see. When we went there, here's the place that we ate, and it literally was one of those like focal, like I've got the destination, like we're keeping our foot on the gas because we want to get to Gus's world famous fried chicken in Memphis. I noticed when I was doing my research that it is now a chain. There are Gus's in different states and everything, but this is the original, and this is the one we headed to in this kind of cinder block building, but such good fried chicken and such a cool old school place. It was worth the drive. I'm so glad we made it because they closed at like 9 o'clock and we were there pretty late. But we made it. Gus's world famous fried chicken in Memphis. So that's a good place to go if you want to get some food for like dinner-y type food. But here's a place that I just think is so freaking charming that I highly recommend. You can get there, you can get other meals there, but we went there for breakfast. It's the Arcade restaurant in Memphis. It's got awesome, it's on a corner building. It's got neon signs, but very tasteful looking ones on the corner. And on the inside, it's pretty much like authentic vintage. It's got the counter. I love the counters. It's got old school tables and booths you can sit in. And one of the most charming things about this is that it is at the end of like the trolley car line. So you can be sitting there in this old school place having your breakfast. And then all of a sudden you see these old school trolley cars like just chucking down the street. And it was just like being stepped back in time. Keep on looking at this weird thing in my hair. But that's the Arcade restaurant in Memphis. I highly recommend it if you're the retro road mappy type. And now I'm going to be totally obsessed by this goofy thing in my hair. Yeah, we'll do this. Yeah, we'll see next time. I might be wearing a hat. So that's it. So Arcade, Gus's. Oh, okay. So here's the thing you do. So maybe, I don't need to tell you how to do it, but here's a place that you need to be at around 11 o'clock in the morning is the Peabody or the Peabody. If you're from Massachusetts, the Peabody Hotel. Maybe you're lucky enough to stay at the Peabody because it is one of those classic old downtown hotels that I'm always raving about. But even if you don't stay there, you can see this. This is called the March of the Ducks, and they do this thing where they have this whole like the ducks. They have a fountain in the middle of the lobby, and ducks, real live ducks, like wah, 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 wah. They swim around in there, but they have this grand thing where they bring the ducks in this kind of regal procession to the fountain and kind of get them in there, and we all crowd around and see the ducks walking out of the elevator and going out there. And it's just one of these goofy things that like is so freaking charming, and like we're all adults getting so excited about seeing these ducks going into a fountain. So they go into the fountain like pomp and circumstance. They go in there, then they're trucking around all day. So they're going there at around 11, and then they truck them out of there around 5 o'clock. So that's the Peabody Hotel in Memphis. What a fun, unusual thing that doesn't happen anywhere else. You got to go check that out. Another great thing to do, and I loved this tour, I will say, is Sun Studios. So this is where Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, all them, so many famous people have recorded at Sun Studios, and you can do a tour. And this was such an interesting tour, and the tour guides were so informative and passionate about it and so into the musical history that you kind of got caught up in it yourself. So that's the Sun Studios in Memphis. Where else do we have now? Oh, so here's the crazy part. This is probably one of the reasons we spent so long in Memphis, is because we didn't realize, we forgot about Beale Street. So Beale Street, they've now made it into kind of a pedestrian walkway, and it's a bit of, as my mother would call it, kind of like a honky tonk. You know, lots of neon signs. You can get some big drinks that you can walk around and drink out of giant plastic cups. And yes, we did do that. And it's just a kind of a goofy, touristy place to walk around, especially at night with all the neons going on. But there's also this really cool place called Schwab's Dry Goods Store. It's been open since 1876. It's got this cool old school sign on it. It's in the middle of Beale Street. It's now more of a place that you can get like candy and souvenirs and things, but still, like, it harkens back to that old school time when it would be the place that when you were in Memphis that you could go to. Craig, I did not know you had the toy box and matching hampers. See, we have yet another thing in common. So take time, make sure you go to Beale Street. There's also a number of very interesting museums. There's the Civil Rights Museum, there's the Stax Museum of Soul Music. Check those places out as well if that's something, you know, you're interested in. As I said, I'm trying to cover in an hour, I'm trying to cover a whole state, giving you the highlights, but when you go traveling, it's about what speaks to your heart. So this ends us up in Memphis, and I think I've given you enough to spend a nice little weekend there. You can get some, actually, there's a barbecue place that I'm telling you, I'm only really interested in that. I'm sure the food is good, but there's a place called Leonard's Pit Barbecue, and the fact that I'm sending you this place is because they have an old neon sign with, and you got to look at this, an old neon sign with a very dapper dressed pig with a top hat and a cane that he kind of spins around like this jaunty kind of gentleman-like pig at a barbecue place. And that's Leonard's Pit Barbecue. Like, you know, I'm a sucker for a neon sign. What can I say? So there we go, folks. I talked a lot. I hope you were able to keep up. But if you weren't, you can always rewatch this. But there are so many cool old school places that I so am hoping will survive these crazy times. And one of the ways that we can all make sure that that happens is when we're able to hit the road safely, people, safely, is by spending our money at these cool vintage places. In every state, but today we're talking about Tennessee. Okay, so here's what I want to just mention to you in the last few minutes here. First of all, I want to thank you so much for everybody who has tuned in today. As I said, I think this is the 19th episode of doing, and I will be doing as long as we are on lockdown and maybe even beyond. It's important for me to have you know that I will be here on every Tuesday and Thursday from 3 to 4 talking about a state. So speaking of that, Thursday, I haven't decided what state I'm going to cover, right? Because we went and we started going south, and then we kind of started going west, and I don't know if I'm going to go more back to the east or go north. So I'm going to do a thing, and I'm just giving you a clue. I'm going to set up a quick little poll on the Retro Roadmap Facebook page, and it's going to be a choice between Indiana or South Carolina. Now, I will actually North Carolina. I apologize. North Carolina or Indiana. Haven't decided which ones. And technically, as you know, I could do any of these. So I'll put a little thing. You can let me know which one you're interested in. But then especially here, this is going to be so much fun. Monday night, May 18th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be here. We may move this into another room just to mix things up. I will be here, and Retro Road Husband will be here. And we are going to do, we have never done this before, but I thought it might be fun, kind of a co-bill of a special anniversary episode of Retro Roadmap, Facebook Lives, because it will be our wedding anniversary, and we're going to talk about Los Angeles, California, because that's where we met all those years ago. We were supposed to be there next week in that world, in that world where we all planned on stuff that's not going to happen. And we were so excited to go back to so many cool vintage places that meant so much to us that I thought, you know what? Why don't we kind of virtually, revisit those places together, but then also share them with you all. So there is a Facebook event, I think, that has that on there, and he's going to mention it on his Facebook Live on Sunday. But I just think that will be really fun. As I said, we can, I'm trying to be methodical and do all the states in order, but it's our anniversary, and there's so many cool places. Woo! And I think I just saw Retro Road Husband and his giant flock of seagulls hair throw some love into the comment section. So thank you for doing that. But in any case, this is Maud Betty from Retro Roadmap, Just Drive Your Life, and Mid Mod Map saying, be the best that you can be and just drive your life. Okay? We'll see you Tuesday.